Good middle of the night. This is John G. Presco, and this is the Midnight Worry Show, isn't it? Did I lose track? Am I losing my mind? I don't think so. I'm lying in bed, chortling to myself at my last couple of posts describing Putin's wife as the potato peeler. It's really good. That's really good stuff. That's the kind of material in English language that's not being delivered at the enemy anymore. Because they don't know. They don't know that's what you're supposed to do. We don't have a Noel Coward or David Niven, any of those great English men of letters and words around anymore, like we did at the end of World War II. Who took us into the Cold War and through the Cold War. And now it's back. And like, what happened? Who's here to guard the Rainbow Bridge to Valhalla? Nobody. I'm the only one. And that's when I woke up. I was making a joke in my dream. I was laughing. And it woke up. I said, "Why are you laughing?" "Oh, yeah, that joke about Putin's wife being right out of the Van Gogh's The Potato Eaters." And you could call it potato peeler because she's got legs like tree trunks. And that's because she's standing at the sink peeling potatoes all day. Well, why is she doing that? Well, to make homemade vodka. You know, I'm glad I had British friends removed. They came to Canada and then they came to United States. Their father worked in the coal mines. So they didn't really get, the apple didn't fall far from the tree. I mean, he kept the British to the bitter end. John Purvis worked at KTVU, and they already detected that I had this British-like sense of humor, and they were puzzled by that. And unfortunately, they all died before I could tell them about my grandfather, Roy Rosamond, who kept alive the Scot-Irish, British humor Rosamond had in Britain and Canada. It runs in your genetics. So the other picture that I was making was, I think I'm going to blog on the Queen and I, but I just read about Russia wanting Fort Ross back. I went to bed without reading anything about it, and I got up and it's 3:10, so about 3 a.m. I'm reading about Russia wanting Fort Ross back, and I go, wait a minute, I gave that to Meghan and Harry. I know I did. And I went searching for that post. I couldn't find it as yet, but I found a whole bunch of other interesting stuff. So the point being, the Russians played into my hand. They played into my hand. And that's a bridge term. My father forced his 3 other children to play bridge with them. If he had to stay at home with the kids for a change rather than go to Oscar's bar, then he was going to teach us how to play bridge. There we all are, you know. I think I was the dummy hand. They gave me the, So playing into your hands, the card, you lay down these cards. And I figured out to play, but I played pinochle for a couple years straight when I lived up in Blue River, my trailer. But it's just like, what? What? Uh, this Russian guy that I should be to in America. I can't think of the title he holds, but he's the shit disturber who comes up with stuff to smite the enemy. And I do a good job, but no one knows me. I think the Russians are the only ones that read me. I think this guy demanded that we give Alaska and Fort Ross back, make reparations for uh, Fort Ross up in California. I think he reads my stuff, but he's got to. You got to be on it. And this is where there's been a great failure in America, beginning with Donald Trump. I mean, hey, Putin doesn't want me to be European savvy, so I'm not going to be European savvy, and I'm going to get us out of the European Union. I'm going to get us out of NATO, and I'm going to really screw everything up real good. All that was put together at the end of the Cold War by Churchill and Truman, and I'm just going to blow it up. I'm going to do it for the name of the evangelical Confederate beer alcoholic guzzler tubing people. Yeehaw, you know. And who's complaining about that? All the time. You say, look out, this is not going to end well. This is going into a very bad place. Well, me. And who's been right? Me. Am I really psychic? Am I really a Futurian? Well, I think I'm more of a Futurian, but I am psychic, and I'm stuck in America in this slime ball ignorance that was bred by the Republicans. Used to be smart people and savvy people, and they thought they could do this. The dumbing down of America, the anti-intellectual crusade that they launched the Christian right at. Well, you know the drill. But we're beyond that right now because we've come to the moment which a lot of historians are fascinated with, absolutely fascinated with. And there's actually two incidences of one, Napoleon going to conquer Russia and getting stuck in the snow and the mud. That's famous. And his retreat was all messed up because of the mud and this famous mud. And that's what I'm waking up to. I said, you better read about this mud, John, before you go on to your Midnight Worry show. And I said, no, I think I know what's going on without even reading about it. I don't have to go to Wikipedia about this Ukrainian mud. And I think what's happened is you've got this layer of clay that's put through there. The Baltic Sea might have been, the water was higher. You had this clay, the filtering of the Dead Sea krill and all that stuff, and it forms this layer of clay, and then the water recedes, and then you get this topsoil, very well rich topsoil, and that's what they grow wheat. They don't grow much else there. Well, why don't they grow other things there? Because you can't work the ground like you can other places because it gets soggy because the water does not sink down into the rock bed and sink into the earth. the rain and the snow melting turn the earth very soft, and you can get out there with a horse and a plow and do your wheat and harvest, things like that. I don't know what it's like to bring heavy machinery out there, but so it looks like you can't do it, not this time of year. And these heavy tanks, once they leave the road, they're stuck. And that's got to be terrifying. Especially when you're a commander, a general, and you're in one of these tanks and you got to retreat because they're firing these handheld rockets at you and stuff, and you got to turn the tank around on a narrow road and you go out to that mud. Ain't going anywhere, and they're shooting at you. And you're worse than a sitting duck. You're this hairy pig monkey, 98% flesh, sitting in this confined turret. And when that rocket comes through, pierces a hole about this big and shoots sparks all into the interior of these tanks, and ignites all the ammunition, the fuel, and it's just like whoosh. I mean, it's like cooking, flesh, cooked flesh. And those young people in the tank, they know what the hell can happen to them any second. There they are going around. I've lost sight of the road. We turned around. Oh, another fighting around. Oh, go into the mud. No, I want to go. It's an order. Yeah, okay, I'll go into the please don't let me go into the mud. It's stalled. UK military expert says the whole attack is installed, just like Hitler and Napoleon. See, and that's the point that occurred to me. I says Putin was fascinated, and I think Donald Trump, when he was president, he still might remember how he was fascinated by that. Oh, gee, I wonder if I was the commander of, if I was Napoleon, or if I was Hitler, what would I have done different? And I could successfully bring my army and conquer Russia. Hey, this is what are occupying the minds of people who become leaders of powerful countries. See? What if I had the opportunity that Hitler had to send an army against Russia? And yeah, then there's that mud in April and March that came and fucked the whole thing up. So I'll just come to the edge of that. I'll just kind of create that crisis that a couple of dictators had, Napoleon and her, and kind of replicate, look at February. I better get going if I'm going to get into that mud by March, And I've seen this as an historian. There's these morbid fascinations by men who become dictators, and they go off on these things, these tangents. Let's go up against that Chinese wall that they just made, or something. They get these things in their mind, and it's like flypaper. It's like the Roach Motel. I mean, they check in, they can't check out. They start thinking about it. They can't, get it up when they're in bed with their wives. And I got thinking about Napoleon and that mud. Come on to bed, to Putin. Look, I got some Putin from my little Putin, Let me wrap my tree limbs around you, muttered the potato boy. Now I gotta think about this mud. I gotta get, I gotta think about attacking my own nation, and I'm Hitler. Really? That's what you're thinking about? Don't you think you might want to lay off the vodka? You can't stop it, see. And so I think, and that's what's fascinating about it. Why can't, and same people try to, see, after World War II, and this crazy man was going into towns and putting Jews on trains and shipping them off to these death camps, and then he would get them skinny to lose some of that body fat because they're going to be gas, and then you got to feed them into these furnaces, and all that fat is rolling out of these furnaces, and see, another bad idea. But we're seeing it right now in 2022. We're seeing Putin bombing churches and hospitals and things, children dying. And it's not funny. I got the smirk on my face, but it's cynicism. See, you can't sit there and go, and the bodies of the burning babies, because it'll fry your mind. Your mind will just turn off to it. So this is what the British developed, was that bloody sense of humor. Yeah, because they were involved in a lot of imperialism and war in Africa and China and in India and the United States. They were doing a lot of battle. So 17 minutes already. So when I was talking with Spooky Noodles, I fired him because I told him what was going to happen, and he didn't believe me. I says, Putin's going to go in there and start a war, and we're going to create a war room. In our conversations and my blog, because you don't write or post, or you say you don't, I think you're recording me for what reason? Prosperity. You feed me all this trivia, thinking that you're affecting my writing, and I'm sort of like your typist, Greek shorthand, but you're the brains of the outfit. He plays that game, and I can't get him off of it. See, because he really likes reading my material, and he'd really like to write his own material, but he's too lazy. So he tries to trick me into believing that he's spoon feeding me all my information. And my blog is basically his blog, you see. This is the kind of thinking that gets you stuck in the mud on the way to Russia. And when you're retreating Russia, you get stuck in the mud again. And you get wiped out, and hundreds of thousands of soldiers die needlessly. So what am I saying? So when we'd have these conversations, I said, get ready, we're gonna do the war room. I said, I told you this is coming. The Prussian war horse is coming. And that's my people, Prussian Teutonic Knights, war horses. Hitler wouldn't have even thought about invading Russia, wasn't for his Prussian generals. And that's my stock, that's my breed. I know how to fight this war. So get ready, Casey, Farrell. Gonna do the war room. So I call him up. He calls me up, and he's not supposed to. Tries to get me as early as possible so he can affect my mind with his trivia. And he's got a good memory. And so he plays this contest where I got more trivia stored in mind than you do, John, in your mind, my mind. But your mind is actually my mind, So I fired him. So you're fired. He said, well, I actually was thinking about going back up to Oregon and running for office after I announced I'm going to be the governor. See, so that's what because he knows I'm going to be writing a lot about running for governor. He's he thinks he's going to get away with that. See, oh, well, John, what's coming out of your typewriter in your mouth, and that you make these videos about running for governor. It's actually my idea. All the ideas that you have about running for governor are actually mine. They're coming from because I've been thinking for a while about coming up to Oregon to run for office. So basically, since I'm not really going to do that, I'll just download all my governor knowledge into your brain, and then you'll be sort of like my secretary. And then after you're done blogging today, I say, yep, that's my plan. That's my material. That's my idea. I gave it to Presco. No, you didn't. So I fired him. I said we're going to the war room. So he hasn't had anything to do with me prophesizing that Putin was going to attack Ukraine, and I fired him. I think 2 days before he did. And I told him it was going to happen, and he didn't really think it was going to happen. And a lot of other people, experts, didn't think it was going to happen. But I had a dream, and I was fighting this demon, punching the pillow and stuff like that. And yeah, but you're really getting all your information from me. Must have pressure. It's actually, see, I have a love for eccentric people, and Casey Farrow is so eccentric, so crazy. And we're both interested in a lot of the same information. And one thing that is mine, like we would talk for an hour, and then it would come around again. I say, what's coming around again? The merry-go-round, the white unicorn on the merry-go-round. And I'm saying that everything repeats itself. Nothing new under the sun. But you just got to keep your eye on the white unicorn. This is going to come around again. So a lot of our conversations became circular. The snake biting its tail. We begin a topic and then we go around. Well, here comes the unicorn. Yes, I see. You're right on, spot on. Yeah. So it made me giggle. I'm still giggling. I finally realized that I and the Queen of England, Elizabeth, since her husband Philip died, were the only two people that have a human super consciousness left. Philip accepted the fact that Queen Elizabeth is God. Queen Elizabeth is God. Headline, Queen Elizabeth is God. And she figured out she was God shortly after her father died while she was in India. This Indian guy came up and told her that she's God now. And she, really? Run that by me? Well, you see, there's this ancient white unicorn on the grand wheel of fate and Bob, that what's the name of the Indian goddess of fate? And it comes around, and you're it. It's coming around again. So I'm lying in bed and I'm chuckling at Mrs. Putin's big, thick legs. And the Queen finally understands that she needs me by her side constantly, that she needs a replacement for Philip, especially during these trying times of another murderous maniac dictator starting a world war. She says she needs a replacement for Philip. I've already kind of fashioned my own suits and medals and right regalia and stuff like Philip had. He had some good stuff all over him. And so, my job is just to to be at her side. When officers from the Royal Navy come into the room, I step forward and shake their hands. Welcome, gentlemen. And of course, the Queen. But the job that I really had that Philip fulfilled, and I get it, see, is that she's got her eye on the big, big, big merry-go-round. And like it's a quarter of a mile in diameter. And so imagine her and Philip standing before this giant, giant, huge merry-go-round. And their attention and the royal people are looking at the family, looking at them. And they're looking noble, and their presence is their Rock of Gibraltar. And Philip leans over slightly and he says, "Here comes that bloody unicorn again." The Queen. No, he taps her foot. He doesn't even have to say anything, and she gets it. See, here comes that bloody unicorn again. And that's the end of the show. I'm laughing and smiling. I guess that's a good sign. But keep a stiff upper lip. I know that I gave Fort Ross to Harry and Meghan. I gave them a house, this big Victorian mansion near there. And I have to go find that, and I'll post on it. Right. This is John G. Presco. This is the Midnight Worry Show. Take care out there, you hear? Don't worry. Be happy.